Hello everybody, and welcome to my Thanksgiving special. Today, I will be making cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce in a way, but not the way you'd usually think of it. Not like the weird canned jelly, gelatinous, gross thing. If I can find a picture of it, I'll put it on screen right now. It's gross, and I don't like that. So, my mom and I decided that we would change it up and make more of a fruit salad-y type thing. And that's what I'll be making today, and what I think is the definitive cranberry sauce, or just cranberries as I call it, though it has other things in it as well. So let me show you the ingredients that we will be putting in here today. I have a bag of these Michigan cranberries. I have 3 Honeycrisp apples, 3 Gala apples, 1 orange, and 3/4 of a cup of sugar. So let's get started by cutting the fruit up. I've already washed everything. Everything's all ready and prepared, just ready to get minced and put in a bowl. Surprisingly, when I first started doing this, my mom kind of started it first and we kind of developed it together. You actually use the whole orange, like peel and all. I thought it was weird, and then you have it, and then you realize you cannot have it any other way. Ugh, I love oranges. I love oranges. My first super real memory with oranges, oh, there goes the nub thingy, is at Disney World. There was is it Epcot? Where they have the land, I think it's called. I don't know if they changed it. I haven't been there in so long. But they had this place called the land, and they have this, it's very obviously earthy themed, and have this little organic place, and they had the most amazing fresh oranges from the Disney Gardens or whatever. Best orange I've ever had, ever probably. And back to the cutting, we want to cut these into bite-sized pieces. So whatever you consider bite-sized, I like to make mine relatively small, but it's up to you really. You want the peel. Obviously, you don't want all peel. You just kind of want to cut it in a way. We're going to end up putting all of this in the food processor anyways. So if you make it whatever chunk you want. If you see something like this, where you cut it to the point where it's just a little tiny orange and a lot of peel, eat that boy, throw it away. But yeah, I mean, this is probably my favorite part of Thanksgiving. I enjoy making it because it's just fun to cut up fruit and eat a lot of it. Usually I have to buy a lot of extra apples and oranges because I end up just eating more than I put in, which is, totally cool because an apple a day keeps the doctor away. With the amount of apples I'm going to eat today, I'm not going to have to go get my annual physical for the next 5 years, I think, personally. I don't think that's how it works, but it's how I'd like it to work. You can very roughly and rudimentarily cut all of this because we're putting it in the food processor. So you don't need to be exact. I don't know why I'm doing it more exact. I never do this. I haven't done this in a bit. Obviously, it's been a year. I don't really make this for anything else but Thanksgiving. So it's always a challenge to be wait, I should really write down my recipes. See, I cook so much, and I like to experiment with a lot of new things. I made a blueberry pie the other week, and I don't remember what I did. I just kind of did it, and I ate it, and it was pretty good. So I probably should have been writing as I do, but then it's it takes me out of the moment or whatever. I should get better at writing down what I do so I, can do it again. I've been cutting them too small. Because it's going in the food processor, you can really make it 2 bite sizes. A bite size times 2, if you will. So I'm gonna cut this boy up. I'm gonna cut an apple up. I'm not gonna force you to watch all of the cutting because, in regular cooking shows where either Gordon Ramsay, who I like the most personally, I think people like Bobby Flay are dumb. Hot take? I don't know. But that's my opinion. Warning, opinion time. I don't have pre-prepared cranberries down here below me where I can just show it to you. I'm doing this all right now. So final product is what the final product is. I'm gonna throw that away. So yeah, I'm gonna throw this in the bowl. Another important aspect of this, obviously, is the food processor. So we're going to put it all in. And I recommend, get in the bowl. I recommend having a rubber spatula on hand. This is not only useful for this, but every recipe I've ever used, like any sort of baking, cooking, really anything that uses anything, get yourself one of these rubber spatulas because they're just helpful in every way. I think the mix, usually, it depends on what is at the store, really. But I chose Honeycrisp and Gala because they're both very crunchy apples. I think the biggest factor of the apple for this recipe is the crunch because the orange is very orangey and squishy. So I like crunch in my things. Like anytime I stew vegetables or anything, or put vegetables in anything, or do anything with anything that can get mushy, I prefer it not to be. These are very, very crunchy apples. Yeah, the flavors complement each other very well with the Gala and the Honeycrisp. I haven't specifically used these two varieties of apples in the recipe before, but when I was buying the apples for this video, I looked at what they had. I'm like, Honeycrisp and Gala, both are very crunchy. Somewhat not Honeycrisp obviously being very sweet, and Gala not being as sweet, a little bit more, not tart, not sweet, just kind of like a neutral. So you want to have a little bit of texture in there, and not too much sweetness because we're adding 3/4 of a cup of sugar, so we don't particularly want to overload it with sweetness. While developing the recipe, we tried doing more sugar. I think we found similar recipes online, but we tweaked it to what we wanted. And it started with like 1.5 cups of sugar or something ridiculous like that. And so we just brought it down to 3/4 of a cup because with the apple's natural sweetness, you don't need excessive amounts of sugar. It's great if you like super, super sweet stuff, but like on a plate where you also have like stuffing and turkey and mashed potatoes, you don't want something that is literally just like I don't know, stupid sweet. So I'm going to cut up the rest of the apples so you don't have to watch that. And I will see you when we're done cutting. So now I cut all the fruit up. I realized I did not need one of the Gala apples, so I'm not going to use it. And the reason why is because if you can see the fruit in the bowl, I don't know if you can see that or not. If you can see like 3-part apple, 1 part orange, so it's like enough where you see a lot of orange, but it's not like half of what is in the bowl. And I realized that I probably shouldn't use one more apple, so I didn't. Yeah. Let me throw my cores away. One of the biggest aspects of this recipe is letting it sit overnight. So that'll come into play later as we mince up these cranberries. But the reason that we use this much sugar, and I like to let it sit overnight, is because it breaks down some of the sugars, or breaks down some of the fruit, I'm sorry, and it gets sweeter naturally. So that was our rationale for cutting the amount of sugar. I know I mentioned that earlier, but that was like the bigger rationale about it. And the biggest thing in this recipe is actually the biggest part of this recipe is actually the food processor. So we cut up the cranberries first, then throw all the other fruit on top of it, put it in the bowl, put the sugar in, put it in the fridge. That is the process for the rest of this recipe. So like I said, it is very, very simple. It is literally a fruit salad, more of a relish, kind of, cranberry relish, if you will. So I'm going to put in about half of the bag first so it minces nicely and not all, it doesn't get all stuck and stuck. We've had this food processor for a long time, and I finally just figured out how to attach the top of it correctly. I always struggled, and I actually got it now. if on yours, I don't know how any other food processor works. It's the only one I've ever had, so I don't know if there's a pulse button on every one. If there's a pulse button, use the pulse, just so you can gauge, so you get more manual control over how they're being cut. Because though I would like to cut all the cranberries by hand, that's stupid. It would take me forever. So I'm not gonna. I'm going to just pulse this. You let it go for a little minute, you pulse it, just pulse, 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 let it go for a minute, pulse, 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 let it go for a minute. That's what I do. It works. I use frozen cranberries, but I just let them sit out and thaw for a while because otherwise they just clack around there like frozen little pods of death. And yeah, so you're not listening to all of the pulsating and the food processor noise, I will cut up all these cranberries and I'll meet you back in a minute. Okay, now that the cranberries are chopped, let me show you a little video of what they should look like. They should be minced very nicely. Don't make it so they're pulverized to the point of like no recognition, like we've mutilated a colony of cranberries. Just make it nice, and so they're mostly chopped in half, some quarters, some little, obviously some will be smushed because you keep adding more, so the same cut ones will keep continually being cut. But so like the last group of them that you put in are about half to a quarter size of what they usually are. So from this point on, what we're going to do is we're going to want to put this in a separate bowl, the cranberries in a separate bowl, put in the apples and oranges, then combine it all together. And that is what I will do right now. I'm going to grab a bowl. All right, so we are going to put the cranberries in a bowl. Make sure to take the blade out first so you don't get surprise blade in your cranberries. And very important as well, cranberries will get everywhere in this because they are tiny and will shoot around. So there's a lot in like the top of the food processor. Make sure you get every bit because it will be worth it. Trust me. This is my favorite part of Thanksgiving. I or my mother makes this every single year, and it's just good. It's just the best part because it's a nice little pop of color on your plate that would usually be taken up by something that is probably brown in some way, whether that be bread, turkey, mashed potatoes, and gravy, or something like that. Maybe the other pop of color being green beans or something. So I like color on my plate. It looks very nice. I'm not opposed to a brown plate. Don't get me wrong. I love me some mashed potatoes, turkey, etc. But it's nice to have a little something different, and something that is definitely not just processed. This is food processed, but not processed. There's a difference. So now that we have the cranberries in the bowl, we shall put the apples and oranges in, batch at a time, as we did with the cranberries. I'll see you when I'm done with that. The apples and oranges are done. I realized that I should probably add some more cranberries. I like it very cranberry-y, so I had to go open up one of the bigger bags that I had. So feel free to adjust this recipe as needed. If you like more apples, a little bit more orange, even more sugar if you want some. But I like mine with more cranberries, so that's what I ended up doing. Feel free to do the same if you are going to make this along with me. So let me show you a video of what it looks like currently. This is just kind of a fruit salad as of right now, just a mixture of all three of the things. And now I'm going to add the sugar in. Do a little bit at a time, fold it in. You don't want it all in one place. We want the sugar to be able to break down all of it, not just the top layer. So just slowly, as I'm doing, shake it in while folding it over, mixing it around. Because you want the sweetness all the way through. You don't want to just take a bite and be like, oh, that is the place where you put the sugar. That is for sure. And then I'm going to let this sit in the refrigerator overnight. It is better overnight, though it tastes fantastic right now because fruit is just wonderful all the time in every application. But this tastes best when left overnight, even 2, 3, 4 days later. I'm recording this 2 days before Thanksgiving, so it'll be sat for 2 days before we actually eat it, if I don't sneak a bite every now and then, which I probably will. But yeah, it sits really nicely, and I'm very excited. Just making this, it's like I usually do, take spoonfuls, and then when you get towards the end, you can just blah, 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 blah. Just make sure you mix it around and get it in every nook and cranny. No cranberry. Leave no cranberry unturned. That is for sure. Okay. So now that the sugar is in, I'm going to cover it with either some saran wrap, tin foil, whatever you got. And I'll see you back in I don't know why I checked my imaginary watch, but I will see you back in 24 hours to show you what the final product will look like. See you then.
24 hours later.
Hey everybody, it's the next day. It's been about, not exactly 24 hours, but close enough. And I let it sit overnight, and this is what we're looking at so far. I think it looks very, very good. Looks like if I'm honest, some of the best I've ever made. So let's get a taste of this. It's sat. It's gotten very juicy in the bottom, which is really good, meaning everything broke down like it should. And let's get a little spoonful. Spoonful a little bit of everything. Just enough sweetness to curb a lot of the acidity, a lot of the sourness. Perfect. This is the perfect little side on your plate. And I hope you guys decide to make it. And it all worked out great. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.